Hello again. In this video I thought I'd talk about training schedules. How often do students typically train at a martial arts school? The class structure of the school, like how the class is structured, how long a typical class is. At the school that I trained at, a typical class length was an hour long. There were some classes that were an hour and a half, and on rare occasions for black belts only, there were sometimes classes that were 2 hours long, but usually in those classes you weren't doing kicking drills or a high cardio workout. There was also time spent doing meditation or maybe prepping for a tournament or a test or something that was coming up. So, or oftentimes you were given some self-practice time as well, so it wasn't necessarily a rigorous 2 hours. So typically a class is about an hour long. The reason why that is an ideal length for a class is when you look at how the class is structured in a typical Taekwondo school, it's usually quite a cardio workout that you're getting, particularly as you move up to some of the higher belt levels. Usually in a 1 hour class, the first 15 minutes is warm-up exercises. Usually students come in prior to the warm-ups and they're already doing some stretching on their own. They might be doing some self-practice. Any of that stuff before the class officially begins. And then when the class officially begins, you have typically, 90% of the time you're going to do a structured group warm-up exercise. So that takes up the first 15 minutes. After that, you usually get into what is called foundation movements. Foundation movements is where you are practicing your punches and your strikes and your blocks, your various kicks. Typically students will form a line and then you'll perform the foundation movements as a group. So you're all kind of moving together in the class with students, in rows and columns. So those are foundation movement exercises. That typically occupies the next 15 minutes of a 1 hour class. After that, you might get into some pattern practice. So you might get 15 minutes to work on your patterns. That may be structured or it may be self-practice time. And then the last 15 minutes of class, depending on the class, can be either used for sparring or it can be used for partner self-defense techniques. So the one-step sparring techniques that you see in my videos on my channel, the Hap Ki Do self-defense techniques, again, I have videos of that on my channel. It depends on the class. Sometimes you might do, some nights might be more pattern focused, other nights might be more kicking focused, let's say. And on the nights where you're doing more kicking drills, then you might have a partner holding one of the focus pads, and you're going back and forth, you're kicking the pad. You might be doing kicking drills on a heavy bag, for example, or on one of the water-filled training bags. You usually call them Wave Master bags. That's like one of the more popular brands. So if it's one of those like leg nights at a Taekwondo school, then you're probably going to be doing a lot of kicking drills. Usually then students form lines and you kind of repeat and you're doing target drills and stuff like that. And those can be some of the most intense workouts that you get on those kind of nights where it's a lot of cardio. So in a typical class, that's usually how it's structured. So you've got your warm-ups, you've got your foundation exercises, you've got patterns or what might be kicking drills, for instance, and then usually you have sparring or you have partner self-defense or one-step sparring techniques to practice in a 1 hour class. Alternatives to warm-ups, if it's not the structured 15-minute warm-up exercises that you see. Again, I have videos of that in my channel. Then you might do other warm-up exercises like skipping, so like jumping rope. You might do stairs, for example. We had warm-ups previously where we would have to go up and down flights of stairs, and then you'd have to squat down, hop up the stairs, hopping up 2 at a time and stuff like that. And it's, again, it's a killer leg workout, and we might do that for 15 minutes, just running in the classroom and up and down stairs, up and down stairs. Another warm-up exercise would be stations, where maybe for 3 minutes you're doing skipping, right? And after that, then you change, right? The students rotate from one station to another. So another station could be the heavy bag, and for the next 3 minutes you're doing nothing but side kicks and turn side kicks on a heavy bag. You get to the next station, maybe it's another type of pad or something, and you're doing roundhouse kicks for 3 minutes. Another one was push-ups, like another station. You're doing push-ups for 3 minutes, or leg lifts for 3 minutes. So there was a station that worked some different exercise and got you warmed up for class. So those are alternate forms of warm-ups for the class. Most martial arts schools, I would say, probably run classes from Monday through Friday, and I think you get the best results if you go 2 or 3 nights a week. For me, I used to train 3 nights a week regularly, and I did that for the better part of 10 years without taking any breaks. Some students will go on extended holidays. They might disappear for an entire summer or something like that, and you kind of lose some of your flexibility, and you lose a lot of what you remember if you take too much time off. So I always find it like at least 2 nights a week is good when you're starting out. And then if you can do it, 3 nights a week makes for a fantastic workout. It usually helps to, maybe do 2 days in a row, give yourself a day off or a couple days off, and then come back for that 3rd class to kind of finish off the week. Otherwise, you don't give your body time to recuperate between classes, and especially when you're talking about flexibility, when you're starting to build flexibility and you're starting to stretch, you need to have more than 24 hours to recuperate from that the next day. Otherwise, you'll find when you go to class, even though you have energy, you'll find that you have no flexibility whatsoever. Like, you'll almost feel like you've lost flexibility because your body is so stiff from the previous night. So I usually, depending on how the classes are structured, if you have a pattern-focused class one night and then more kicking drills and sparring the next night, then it's no problem to go back to back. And then usually, give yourself a day off after a hard class and then come back for another one, to finish off the week. So probably about 3 nights a week. Over the course of a month, you're probably looking at about 14, 15 classes or somewhere around that neighborhood that you're probably putting in a month. Tests would usually come up maybe when you're first starting out, a test maybe every couple of months, right, when you are moving up through the ranks. And then as you get further up, the tests get fewer and farther between. So 3 nights a week class gives you lots of time to recuperate. Typical class length is an hour, and you can expect to progress pretty quickly when you first start out. You'll move up pretty fast initially, and then you'll find that the pace slows down and further ranks take longer to get to. But if you're interested in learning martial arts and you're not just doing it to race to get to black belt, then you're not even thinking about that kind of stuff. It becomes part of your routine. It becomes so natural. You're not thinking about it, and you're not paying attention to what belt you're wearing. You're more concerned about what you're learning and the workout that you're getting. So anyway, I hope that helps. Thanks.